Welcome to Quilting on the Side, the podcast where we uncover the secrets to turning your passion for quilting into a profitable side hustle.
I'm Tori from the Quilt Patch by Tori.
And I'm Andi from True Blue Quilts. And together, we're your co-hosts on this exciting journey of creativity, entrepreneurship, and all things quilting.
We're here to help you navigate the world of quilt pattern design, course creation, digital marketing, and running an online quilt business. We've been through the ups and downs ourselves, so we know what it takes to make money from your favorite hobby.
That's right, Tori. We're going to share our experiences on how we've grown our businesses while balancing family with other paying work responsibilities. It's not always easy, but it's definitely possible. Welcome back to our latest episode of Quilting on the Side. Tori and I are going to get a little bit nerdy today and dig into some numbers because you have to know where you are to make sure you're on the right track to get to the destination you want to end up at. And KPIs, or key performance indicators, are the best way to make sure you're on the right path. Tori, what are some basic things we need to understand when we start talking about metrics for our business?
I think to start, it's not scary. And you don't have to track every single little thing if you don't want to. But there are a few key, they call them key KPIs, which show the overall health of your business. And we're going to dig into those today.
So, talking from very basic introduction, people are always focused on how much money they're making. So that's your revenue. The money coming in is your revenue. But the health of your business is actually profit. How much is left after expenses? Because we've all heard stories of people that have six-figure or million-dollar businesses, but they're not paying themselves because there's no profit.
They put all that revenue back into their business. So that is something to look at, that KPI. So how much revenue are you generating? And then how much profit are you generating? So two different numbers there. And profit is revenue minus expenses. So some other things that we can consider are going to be return on investment. So that means we got our revenue in, we're putting some of that revenue back into our business. So that's return on, and we're putting it back in our business. And then we're purchasing or funding something to help with profitability, with conversion rate, with something to help the health of our business. So, and then we measure how much we gained after that fact, and that is the return on that investment. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that ROI is just, like you said, that basic understanding of what you put into the business and what you're getting out of it at the end of whatever little cycle you're thinking about. So
if you purchase paper patterns, so if you write a pattern, you have PDFs available and you spend money getting it printed into paper versions, that's an investment. And then what is your return on those paper patterns? That it would be return on investment.
Yep. Very good example. And one of the things that I think people forget to calculate in their ROI numbers, those return on investment numbers, is the time they spend. Because we think that, PDF pattern, there's no investment in that because it's digital, it's quote free. But you've got your internet payments for your house that you're taking up. You've got the computer hardware that you purchased. You've got your website that you have to maintain. So there are some indirect costs associated with even free or low cost offers that you make. And that's why people charge the same amount for PDF versus print, because although it's cheaper on the back end to offer PDF patterns because you don't have the printing costs, you still have those overhead numbers to account for in your business.
Exactly. So if you take the numbers of what you're spending on internet usage, like you said, what you're paying for software, because we all use software to generate that those PDF patterns, the website cost, and then you add them together, you'll get the investment cost that goes into creating a PDF pattern. And then how much are you charging for that PDF pattern? And that's when you'll see the return on investment. It's funny that you say that we think of it as free, because that's exactly what I thought when I first started. I thought all my patterns, when I create a PDF pattern, it's free for me. And then all these costs start to sneak up on you because your mindset is thinking, oh, this is free to create, so it should be easy to go into business. Then we have a $300 charge for a website. Then we have a $150 charge for Adobe so you can play with PDFs. You have a charge for EQ8 to get the software to create the images, really, and to figure out fabric. That's mainly what I used it for.
Mm-hmm.
So don't let those sneak up on you. Make sure you have that right mindset that even if you're creating something with tools you already have, you still paid for it. And that goes into that investment part.
Yeah. Yeah. So there's a lot. And we've talked about some of those setup costs in earlier podcast episodes. So we don't want to spend too much time on those. But when you start building your audience and running your quilting or craft business, one of the big things that people talk about is your email list. And beyond the number of subscribers, what KPIs should we be focusing on with our email list?
Yeah, email lists. I love looking at KPIs for email lists. Like, they're very straightforward. They're very simple for me to understand. So with email lists, you want to look at your open rate, and that's going to show you how engaged your audience is. I am very proud of us. We have a very engaged audience, and thank you to everyone listening. Whenever we send out an email newsletter, we have almost 70% open rate, which means we have a highly engaged audience, which is super.
That open rate is fun to track, actually, because you can figure out, was it the subject line of your email? Obviously, that's going to get the initial click. So you want to make that sure that's appealing to your audience. And whenever we talk about email lists and open rates and those kind of numbers, I always remind myself that it's not a personal attack, and those unsubscribes are actually keeping your list healthy, because you want to be in contact with your ideal customer and the people that want to hear from you. So if you go through a season where you get unsubscribes, then keep plugging along, because that just means you're getting closer and closer to that ideal person.
It's true. And I actually heard on a podcast when I know this happens a lot, when you make the commitment to start sending out emails more regularly or more frequently, you will have a drop in subscribers initially. But if you continue to email continuously, like the same, continuously, what's the word?
Consistently.
There you go. Consistently, then your email open rates, your engagement, and your subscribers and the unsubscribe rate. Okay, let's take out the unsubscribe rate, but everything else will rise. Your unsubscribe rate will lower.
Yeah, it all even out there. So
before we move on, I want to note that the average open rate for the craft industry, because we do have a highly engaged audience when you're in the craft space, is around 38 to 40%. So if you're getting open rates around 38 to 40, you're right where you need to be. So if 70 sounds unattainable, that's totally okay. We are unusual here. We are very unusual. We have a very niche podcast, a smaller email list, and we cater to a very specific group of people. So if you have a larger audience or even a small audience, but you're reaching a larger niche, you're going to have more fluctuation in those numbers. Now, if your numbers are low, let's say they're around 30%, Andi had a great piece of advice, and that's to really look at your subject lines. Like, which ones are they opening more? So which emails in particular are they opening more? What were those subject lines? Also look at what you can do to make it very clear what's inside the email. So if you're using the word newsletter, I would totally avoid using that word. Mostly, a lot of people think newsletter, they think you're sending stuff about your business, which you probably are, but you're also including a lot of content that's going to engage them. So it's stuff to teach, it's stuff to inspire. So you don't want to use the word newsletter and throw them off within your subject line. You can use it within your email, but to get them to open it initially, probably take it out of the subject line. Another really good piece of advice that I've been testing out with our email list is asking a question as the subject line. And that's been really interesting. So maybe try a few of those and see if you can get your open rate up a little bit higher.
Yeah, another trick with the emails, just to make sure they're getting to people directly, is to ask a question at the end of your email. So hopefully they're reading through it, and then you ask a question that they can, and remind them, hit reply to tell me your thoughts on XYZ. And then hopefully people will take advantage of that. They will hit reply, they will send you a response, and then that triggers the algorithm, the bots in the internet world, to actually mark your email address as safe, and it won't go to spam quite as much. But yeah, that's always it can be a hurdle to actually get people to open the emails and be delivered to their eyeballs.
So if more people are opening your emails in other inboxes, Google and Yahoo, and there was one more big one. It's all in the same podcast I listened to. There was one more big one that also track your email through all those different inboxes and realize that you do have something important to say, and they will put your email like to those people. Like they will get it there. So keep that in mind. So engagement is what we're going for. If you're getting a lot of unsubscribes, those aren't your people. Like Andi said, let them go. Let them go. We want to focus more on open rate than we want on whether or not that subscriber. It is a good KPI, unsubscribe rate, because if you do have a high unsubscribe rate, that means you're not appealing to your ideal customer on the front end. So if you're using your social media to bring people onto your email list and they're unsubscribing, that means you're not bringing in your ideal customer on your social media. You're not bringing in your ideal customer with your events, with your lead magnet. So it's something to reconsider and take a really close look at and see, is this appealing to the people that I want to work with? So if you have a foundation paper piecing block of the month and you're getting people coming into your email list through a lead magnet talking about maybe binding, maybe it's too broad. So maybe looking at a lead magnet to help them with something specific about paper piecing. And that way you're getting paper piecing people into your email list. So they're ready for a paper piecing block of the month. So thinking about your lead magnets that way, your social media that way. And we did talk about before in our social media podcast about having themes for your content creation. So if your themes are the same and line up with your offers, like foundation paper piecing, if you're on social media, talk about foundation paper piecing. If you have a blog talking about foundation paper piecing, and then you launch a block of the month for foundation paper piecing, it all lines up and you'll be bringing in the right customers that are ready for your block of the month.
And you're able to track all of those people because you are paying attention to your numbers, which is a great transition to, once you're comfortable with your email and you've got those numbers, is perhaps you're thinking about a launch. And that has been big on our minds with our various independent offers. So what numbers and what ways do you have to track those key performance indicators when you are analyzing a launch?
So first you want to look at how you're generating interest, how you're generating traffic. So we already mentioned social media. So some key social media performance indicators and KPIs are going to be your followers. You do want to look at is it rising really? You want to see if it's rising. It's not really the rate that it's rising that's going to be really important. It's going to be if it's rising. One even more important KPI is going to be engagement. Are people responding to your questions in your captions? If you're on Instagram and you're posting polls to a story, or if you're on YouTube and you're posting polls, are they voting? Are people liking? Are they commenting and talking back with you? Are they messaging you on the side? Are you getting that kind of engagement? If you're not, then that might be something to focus on before you launch, is to up your engagement. And then your follower count, if it's growing, that's great. If you're dropping off, you want to look at who is dropping. So are they bots? That's great. If they're not, then start looking at your ideal customer again. Am I appealing to those foundation paper piecing people when I'm launching a foundation paper piecing block of the month? You want to make sure that you are lining up your content with what's coming. And you want to make sure that part is growing. So you're getting people who are interested in foundation paper piecing. How can you tell? You can't tell if it's private, that's for sure. But you can tell if it's public. If they're private, if their accounts are public, you can see what they're posting. If they're posting quilting stuff, that's a great indicator. If they're posting other foundation paper piecing projects, that's a lot of piece, other foundation paper piecing projects in their feed, then you know that they're interested in foundation paper piecing and you're on the right track. Now, does every single person have to have foundation paper piecing in their feed? No. But if you're getting a couple trickling in that you notice are, then you're on the right track. You'll also notice that when you start announcing the block of the month coming up, and you start with a wait list and your email list grows from your Instagram followers, you're on the right track. So you're looking at that conversion rate from social media to your email list. That's another really key one, because social media followers, they're very passive. They're there because they're at least slightly interested in what you're doing, but your email list are really interested in what you're doing. They want at least your free content off the bat. And then as they sign up for events, that means they're interested in getting to know you or your product. And if they pay, that is going to be one of our other KPIs. That is going to be the conversion rate that you're really going to boil down to, is how do you get an Instagram follower or social media follower to a paid customer? And that's the rate you're going to have to look at too. So it's getting from that number of engagement and followers. So currently I'll round it up to 1,500. So I have 1,500 followers. If I convert 20 of those to my email list before I launch my webinar on my new book coming out, then my email list has grown by 20 people, and I don't have a percentage in front of me. Should we do percentages?
No, I think because I don't have a calculator in front of me either. So we can trust people to do that math on their own.
So that's going to be a low KPI, 1,500 to 20 people. However, if you're able to get 50 people to sign up for something that's free, or for a wait list that's free and just want more information, that's going to be a higher KPI, a higher conversion rate, not KPI, but that's a good indicator to see you're on the right track. And then when you actually launch it and 50 of those people, let's say 15 of them sign up, that's a pretty good conversion rate. 50 people who are interested and 15 people that pay to be a customer. Yeah, that's a pretty good conversion rate. So that's 1,500 divided by 15. And that's your paid customer conversion rate.
Yep. And I have heard over the decade practically that I've been looking at online sales is that a conversion rate of 2% is pretty standard for an online offer. These are the online sales gurus that do the webinars and have the paid courses and things there. So that's where you see the funnel you were talking about. You've got all these people on your email list, and then you get them to show up to a webinar. So that's a smaller number, and then an even smaller number purchase. So with a 2% conversion rate, you've got 100 people on your email list, and let's say 20 of them show up, and then only 2 people buy. So that's why we want to grow that email list, so you have lots of people at the top of the funnel coming down for that 2% conversion rate. The other flip side of that is if 2 people buy, that means you had to listen to 98 no's. So you have to get through a lot of those no's to get those sales. So don't get too concerned or too focused on that negative aspect, but we can celebrate those 2%. Yes.
Yeah, so you get 20 people to a webinar and you get 2 people to sign up, you are doing great.
Yep.
That is a great conversion. That's what I'm taking from that.
Exactly.
That was a great example too. Thank you, Andi.
Yeah. We like to use those nice round numbers for math in public.
I know, I went straight for like real life example. Wait a minute, let's just simplify.
Yep. So when you are talking about getting people to a webinar, One of the tools that we use to do that is a landing page. So you're going to have to dig into the website a little bit and use Google Analytics, which I am not great at, but I managed to get it set up. And then you have to go back and actually look and see how many people are going to that page. And that's where you can do a little bit of problem solving, because if that landing page, if the traffic numbers are really small, obviously you need to get more eyeballs on it. So you need to then back up and go take a look at your email and your social media strategy to really drive people to that landing page so they can at least be exposed to the offer, because if they don't even see it, they're not going to buy. So we're not Field of Dreams. We're not going to build it just hoping that people stumble upon it. We need to be strategic about our messaging.
And email, if you're making landing pages through your email, they also track views and click through. So those can also be really handy. My website actually tracks how many views a page will get, and then how long they stay, which is a cool indicator. And then you can also track conversions, because I don't actually have them sign up through my website email because I don't really like their email. I use MailerLite. So I'll have the form input on there. So then I'll see how many people actually signed up. And yeah, that's a great way to track how many views are you getting and are they signing up. So a few ways to troubleshoot that too is keep it simple. So when you're saying, especially for something as simple as a wait list, here's the wait list, name, email, and be done. You don't want to give them too many things to do. They'll get lost. Landing page, there is a whole science behind landing pages. You can go through, you can create short landing pages. You can create long scroll landing pages. There are arguments both ways on whether a good landing page is short or a good landing page is long. There are all kinds of discussions and science and testing that goes around landing pages. So we can get real deep on those. However, what you really want to look at, like Andi said, are those views versus signups. How many people are viewing it? How many people are signing up? If you're getting 100 people viewing it and 0 signups, then you need to make sure it's simple to sign up. Do they know where to go? Those are some really quick things that you can look at. And if you think it's easy, if you think it's clear, then get someone who is not very tech savvy. I would say not very tech savvy, and have them join you live or in person and share their screen, and they walk through and pretend to sign up or actually sign up for your thing and see where are they getting lost. Are they getting lost? Can they not find the button? Can they not find where to go? Does everything work? You shouldn't have to say anything. They should be able to navigate that landing page with no issues. And I've done this once with my mom, and she was great because she is a little tech savvy. And she should easily to sign up for something. And she's noticed that there are a few steps you have to go through that are extra that I didn't realize were extra, that you had to sign up to go through one of my programs. So it was really, really handy to have someone else look at it. And when I mean navigate, do I need to clear that up, you think? Navigate?
No, I think we have pretty with it. Especially if they're interested in business, then they understand navigation of websites and building different pages.
So they know where to play, right? Navigate.
Let us know, audience, if we need to do a little more basic understanding of some of these issues. But no, that was a great overview of landing pages and how to track and find those conversions. What else are you looking at for KPIs and metrics in your business?
We covered the initial ones. So let's see if there's a few more we can dive into. You do want to look at customer satisfaction. So and returning rate. So how many people are coming back to buy more patterns, to take more programs, to how many, if you're doing a long-term event, like a block of the month. I mentioned that a few times already this episode. So how many people are participating in the block of the month every week? You will naturally have people drop off as it goes. People are very excited in the beginning. And then you want to look at how many people are finishing. And then for the next one, see what you can do better to help them finish. So you want that retention rate is what that is. So you want to look at the retention rate to make sure that you have high customer satisfaction so that they'll come back and do something else with you, and they might bring a friend. So that word of mouth is very powerful, and to ensure that you will have word of mouth, or at least a higher likely scenario where you'll have word of mouth, is to serve your customers to the best of your ability, and to make sure you're looking at customer satisfaction and seeing how many people are coming back, how many people are finishing the program, and then what you can do to help improve that. If you have no idea what you can do, you need to ask your customers. You got to send out a survey. Feedback. We love feedback. Always ask for feedback.
Yep. I love doing polls for my audience, and just bringing this full circle. That's a great thing to put in your email, is to create an easy little survey on Google Forms, and then you've got that link, and so then they're engaged because they're clicking on something in your email. So your email provider knows that it's safe, and they want to keep sending those emails out to people because it has useful information. So double benefit there. You get the survey results, and that can help guide your decisions, and you get the benefit of people engaged with your content. Anything else on customer acquisition and some of the costs involved there? I think that's such an important concept, so I don't mind repeating that for people. So obviously, because I struggle with this sometimes, is to think of what it costs to acquire a customer, especially if I've had a month where sales are low. So obviously my customer acquisition costs are going to be high because I haven't gained anybody. And if I'm spending any money in that month, then that drives that cost up. But I guess it would be the cost of creating a lead magnet. It's going to be my email costs for paying to use that email platform. Anything else I should be considering?
How much it costs to make that product per customer. So those patterns you want to break down, especially print patterns are probably the easiest way to explain that. How much are you paying for printing per pattern? And then you'll see the cost of the product for the pattern. We'll look at ads. So if you are spending money on an ad, you want to look at getting it was $1 per lead. So that's the idea, is you're getting $1 per lead. You're getting a good investment back on that ad. And then the idea is that with spending money on the ad, you're making more money than what you're spending. So you want to look at that. So if you're spending $1 per lead, you want to make sure your lead conversion is high. So getting people to the sales page is going to be high. Getting people to pay for the pattern is going to be high. And again, it goes back to that ideal customer. On if all those are low, you want to look at who you're appealing to and really thinking about, what does that customer want? What do they need? And are you providing that? And then breaking down each piece of that funnel and making sure that you're providing that all the way through, so you get the number of conversions you need to pay for getting that new lead. Yeah. I feel like that was a lot of jargon.
We, again, are depending on that feedback from our audience to let us know if this conversation has been helpful. You can email us or visit the website, quiltingontheside.com, to leave comments. And as always, we appreciate reviews, because that is one of the engagement factors, one of the KPIs that podcast and videos look at, is those reviews of a channel. So thank you to the people that have left a review and reached out to us. We love being here and sharing the stories of our business and helping you grow your business as well.
Yeah, having podcast KPIs have been really interesting, because you can't see how many people subscribe. You can only see ratings. Even on our side, we can see how many people have downloaded the episode per week and per month. Like, we have different things there timeline wise where we can see how many have downloaded, but that's it. That's all we can really track. And then we also have our newsletter, so we can see how many people are signing up, and then how many people are opening that newsletter, and how many people are clicking on the links to go listen to the different episodes. So we know one of our key performance indicators has indicated to us that y'all love the guest episodes. So we definitely want to keep our guests coming because that's something that is driving our business. We're getting more downloads when we have guests versus just me and Andi talking like for this episode. And do you want to do an example for customer acquisition? Because I have one for the block of the month that I did.
Oh, yeah, that would be really helpful.
Okay. So with my block of the month that I did no, I don't even know what year it was. Was it 2020? My goodness. 2020.
Probably overlap 2020, 2021.
Yeah. So I worked 2 years on this block of the month, building it up, launching it, and then finishing it off for my participants. And I ran an ad. So I think this might be a really good example.
Mm-hmm.
So I did $1 per day. Oh, no, I'm sorry. It was $5 per day. The ad I played with 4 or 5 times to get it just right, where it was bringing in at least 5 leads per day. Now, my ad was to my lead magnet, which was a vernacular guide of quilting terms, but it wasn't the whole guide. It was just the acronym page.
Mm-hmm.
Almost forgot the word acronym page. So the FPP stands for foundation paper piecing. So it's a guide on all these shorthands that we use for quilting. So it's bringing in brand new quilters or beginner quilters that were not really used to the vernacular. So from there, I got them onto my email list. I was sending them information on the block of the month, on the patterns that I was writing, on the 2 patterns that I had out at that point. And I was teaching like tips and tricks in my newsletters. And I was getting about a 38% open rate. So it was a little bit lower. I was pretty new at this. So I'm pretty proud of that. And then I launched the program. So what I did was I invited people in as a founding member. It only cost $12 a month. They were getting 4 skills. It was the skill building block of the month. So they would get 4 skills over the entire span of the year. And that was really interesting because I broke it up between skill as well. So they could sign up for the entire block of the month, or they can sign up just to learn foundation paper piecing or just to learn applique. That was another one I had. So they could choose. And I had the cost, all of that leveled out. So I had people signing up for $12 a month, and it paid for the ad. It paid for the website. It paid for everything. So I had no profit, but I had my entire revenue went right back into my business. So it was all evening out. So my cost per lead is the cost of the website plus the cost of the ad plus the cost of making that book and the acronym page plus the cost of PDF plus the cost of email service provider. Actually, at that time it was free. It was MailChimp. So I was still using the free version of MailChimp then. So that didn't count. But all those costs add up, and I was making the same amount I was spending. So my cost per customer was pretty high.
Well, yeah, but as a starting effort, that's always great to be 0 and not a negative number to where you're pouring money in
for business for about 2 years, almost 2 years at that point. Maybe about a year at that point. Gosh, I can't remember details. I was pregnant since then. My details are like fuzzy. But I can go back and look at the numbers if we're really curious. But yeah, at least a year in business, I was breaking even. But one thing I would really look at too is if you're launching such a large program like that and you're teaching, I was teaching a lot and I was putting a lot into this program, I would definitely have raised my price to cover not just the cost of getting those customers, but also being able to pay myself. So that's another thing to look at, is that profit. So that other key performance indicator, are you making money? Because we want to make sure we're making money. If you are making money, you have a healthy business. That determines the health of your business.
Yeah. So as we wind down here, I think we've covered a lot of those key performance indicators, but I just want to let people know that we have a couple other episodes that talk about some important numbers and things. One of our real early episodes talked about multiple income streams. And so obviously generating income is one of those ways that we want to have a healthy, profitable business. So I'd encourage people to go back and listen to that episode. You mentioned our social media episode, so that's another good one. And if you need help tracking this, we love Paper and Spark spreadsheets for helping out with all those numbers and things. So I'll definitely give a shout out to Janet at Paper and Spark.
So just to wrap that up, some of those key performance indicators you want to keep an eye on. I think I just want to make a quick list for everyone because we jumped around a bit.
Yeah.
You want to look at your emails. So your email specifically, we're looking at open rate to track your engagement. We're looking at unsubscribe rate to make sure you've got the right ideal customer coming in. It has nothing to do with your quality. You're an amazing person. We just want to see if your ideal customer is coming in. And we're also looking at if they're signing up. So how many people are signing up, especially if you're doing a launch, you want to see how many people are coming in. That's a really good one to track for launches. You're also going to be looking at social media, how many people, how many followers you're getting, how much engagement is growing. And then you just want to keep that going up and in an upward trajectory. So it doesn't matter exactly how fast it's going, but you do want it to take an upward trajectory. Trajectory. Did I say that word right?
Trajectory.
Thank you. Thank you very much. And then you can break down everything and look at your cost acquisition per customer. So customer acquisition costs. So you can look at that. So it's basically asking how much are you spending to get a new customer. You can look at another key thing to look at is your landing pages. So landing pages for lead magnets, landing pages for events, landing pages for anything that you are launching, any kind of landing page. You want to see how well that page is doing. And then overall revenue. So revenue coming in, profit, and then any return on investment that you're making. So any investments you're making, how much are coming in because you made that investment.
Yeah.
It'll give you a really holistic way of how your business is moving.
Yeah, that's a really key thing. And it can be hard to get into the habit of looking at these numbers consistently over time, because especially when you're starting out and you may have those offers that you put a lot of effort into and you get very low or no sales. We've all heard those crickets. So it can be hard to gear up to try again, but we would encourage you to do that because you get better every time and those metrics do change and improve. And the other thing that I wanted to mention with that, coming back to your numbers, is that it may take a while. You may plant the seed with this launch and not reap the fruit until 3 to 6 months later. If you send out an email and you look at your sales the very next day, it may not have had time to sink in. So definitely come back and look and try to keep those connections that ask people where they heard of you and then, oh, I saw your ad, or, oh, I saw a specific post on Instagram or Pinterest. Then you can start tying those events together and focus your efforts where it is making the most difference. What a great discussion. If you enjoyed this episode of Quilting on the Side, please leave us a review on whichever platform you're listening. It can be iTunes, Spotify, or even our YouTube channel.
And hit the subscribe button so you don't miss our next chat. Until then, remember to have fun in your business and do a little quilting on the side.